On their wedding night, the evil spirits came.
In part 1, Evelyn tried to escape secretly at the midnight from her cursed marriage, but as she held the door handle, she heard a knock. Once. Twice. 3 times. Her heart stopped. Her mind screamed, "Do not open it." Her whole body trembled. She stepped back, her breath coming out in short gasps. Then, the lights flickered. A shadow passed under the door. Evelyn's heart nearly exploded. And then, just as suddenly as it came, it stopped. Silence. But she knew one thing for sure now. She was trapped. Evelyn stood frozen, her heart pounding so hard she thought it would burst out of her chest. The knocks had stopped. The shadow under the door had vanished. But she knew she wasn't alone. Her breath came in short gasps. She needed to get out. Now. She turned back to the window. It was old, wooden, easy to break if necessary. She grabbed a chair, lifted it, and a voice. Right behind her. "Where are you going?" Evelyn's soul nearly left her body. She turned slowly. Daniel was standing there. No. Something that looked like Daniel. His eyes were too dark. His face was too still. His lips didn't move, but the words came again, inside her head. I asked, "Where are you going?" Evelyn couldn't breathe. Her hand shook violently. Daniel," she whispered. "You're scaring me." He stepped forward. His footsteps made no sound. Then he smiled. A slow, eerie smile. "You cannot leave, my love. You are already one of us." The lights flickered again. A sharp pain stabbed through Evelyn's stomach, making her double over. It felt like something was crawling inside her. She let out a weak cry, clutching her belly. What was happening to her? She forced herself to move, stumbling toward the door. But Daniel, or whatever he was now, only watched her. Like a predator watching prey. Then, in a blink, he was gone. Vanished. The room fell into complete silence. Evelyn's body shaked violently. Her breath came in shaky gasps. She had to leave. Now. She yanked open the door and sprinted down the hallway. The house felt endless, like the walls stretched longer with each step she took. She ran, turned a corner, and fell into something cold. She looked up. Her mother-in-law stood there, eyes blank. Her lips moved, but her voice came from behind Evelyn's ear. "It is too late, child." Evelyn screamed. She woke up breathing fast. Her head throbbed. Her skin was drenched in sweat. Morning light streamed through the window. Was it a dream? Birds chirped outside. She sat up on her bed, her whole body aching. She looked around. Everything seemed normal. She let out a shaky breath. Maybe she was losing her mind. A knock on the door made her jump. "Evelyn?" Daniel's voice. "Are you awake?" She hesitated. Then, slowly, she got up and opened the door. Daniel stood there, looking normal. No strange eyes. No creepy smiles. Just Daniel. His face was full of concern. "Are you okay? You didn't come to bed last night." Evelyn swallowed. I wasn't feeling well." He sighed and pulled her into his arms. "You're probably just stressed. I know the wedding happened fast, but you'll get used to things." She forced herself to nod. "Yeah. Maybe, I will be fine." Daniel held her and kissed her forehead. "Come, Mama made breakfast." Evelyn didn't want to go. But refusing would raise suspicion. So she followed him. Breakfast was silent. Too silent. Daniel's mother sat across from her, slowly chewing her food. Her eyes never left Evelyn. Evelyn tried to ignore the heavy feeling in the room. Then, suddenly, Daniel's cousin collapsed. His body convulsed violently. His arms flailed, foam spilling from his mouth. No one reacted. No one moved. They just watched. Evelyn shot up from her seat. What's wrong with him? Someone do something. Daniel grabbed her wrist. His grip was strong. Too strong. His voice was low, dangerous. Sit down. Terror wrapped around Evelyn's throat. She yanked her hand away and ran. Ran out of the house, out of the compound, onto the street. She didn't stop. She couldn't. She kept running, breathing hard, pushing past people, ignoring their stares. She didn't stop until she reached her mother's house. She banged on the door, screaming, "Mama! Mama, open up!" The door flew open. Her mother pulled her inside, locked the door, and turned to face her. Her face was pale. "Evelyn," she whispered. "You have brought something with you." Evelyn's heart nearly stopped. "What?" she gasped. Her mother's hands trembled. She stepped back, eyes full of fear. Evelyn felt her blood turn cold. "Mama, what are you saying?" Her mother raised a shaking hand and pointed. "Look behind you." Evelyn turned slowly. And froze. There, standing in the middle of the living room, was Daniel. But his feet weren't touching the ground. Evelyn couldn't breathe. Daniel was floating. His feet weren't touching the ground. Her mother whispered a prayer under her breath, her hands shaking. "Evelyn, this is not your husband." Evelyn's mind screamed, "Run." But she was frozen. Daniel, or whatever he was now, tilted his head slowly. His lips curled into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You can run, but you cannot escape." His voice echoed in the room. Then, he vanished. Just like that. Gone. Evelyn collapsed to the floor, gasping for air. Her mother rushed to her side, grabbing her shoulders. "Evelyn! Look at me. What is happening?" Tears streamed down Evelyn's face. "Mama. I made a mistake. I shouldn't have married him." Her mother's face turned pale. "Evelyn, tell me everything. Now." Evelyn poured everything out. The strange dreams. The shadows. The way Daniel's family acted like something was controlling them. Her mother listened silently. Then, she got up and started packing a bag. Evelyn's forehead creased. "Mama? What are you doing?" Her mother didn't stop. "We are leaving this house. Now." Evelyn's stomach twisted. "Why?" Her mother turned to face her. Her eyes were filled with terror. "Because if Daniel could follow you here, then the spirits from his family house can follow you too." Evelyn's body turned to ice. They left immediately, picked a public transport and went straight to a small town outside Accra, where Evelyn's aunt lived. The moment they arrived, her aunt took one look at Evelyn and gasped. "Evelyn, you are carrying something dark with you." Evelyn's knees buckled. "Auntie, what do I do?" Her aunt pulled her into a small room filled with herbs and old books. She lit a candle and whispered a prayer. Then, she placed her hand on Evelyn's forehead and closed her eyes. Silence. Then, her aunt screamed. She stumbled back, eyes wide with fear. Evelyn's mother rushed to her side. "What is it?" The old woman looked at Evelyn, her voice shaking. "She has been marked." Evelyn's heart dropped. "What does that mean?" Her aunt's hands trembled. "It means the spirits have claimed you. They will not stop until you belong to them fully." Evelyn's body broke out in a cold sweat. "No," her mother whispered. "There must be a way to stop this." The old woman swallowed hard. "There is only one way." She looked into Evelyn's eyes. "You must return to that house." Evelyn's stomach twisted violently. "What? No. I barely escaped with my life. Her aunt shook her head. You don't understand. If you don't go back and break the curse from within, you will never be free. The spirits will follow you wherever you go. They will destroy your life, your future, everything. Evelyn's hand shook. I can't do it alone. Her aunt's face turned grave. You won't be alone. She pulled out a small bottle filled with red liquid. Take this. It will protect you, for a while. But once you step into that house, you must not show fear. If you do, they will devour you. Evelyn swallowed hard. She had no choice. She had to go back. That night, she returned to the house. The moment she stepped through the gates, the air changed. The house loomed before her, its windows like dark, empty eyes. She clutched the bottle in her hands, whispering a silent prayer. She took a deep breath and walked inside. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. She stepped into the living room. The walls were covered in strange markings. Her heart pounded. Then, a whisper. You came back. Evelyn spun around. Daniel stood there, his eyes black. Not human. Not anymore. Evelyn held up the bottle. I know what you are. Daniel smiled, a slow, twisted smile. Then you know you can't stop us. The shadows in the room began to move. A cold wind rushed through the house, carrying whispers, cries of women from long ago. Evelyn's legs shook, but she forced herself to stand tall. She uncorked the bottle. By the blood of those you have tormented, I break this curse, she shouted. The house shook violently. A scream, not human, filled the air. Daniel's body convulsed. He clawed at his face, screaming. The shadows swarmed around him, wrapping him in darkness. Then, he disappeared. Just like that. Evelyn collapsed to the floor, gasping for air. Silence. The house was empty. For the first time since she arrived, she felt peace. The spirits were gone. Days later, Evelyn packed her bags and left Accra. She never looked back. Daniel's family house was abandoned. No one dared go near it. And Daniel also was never seen again. Some say he disappeared. Some say he became one of them. But Evelyn didn't care. She was free. Finally. Let's all learn from Evelyn's story. Let's do proper investigations into any family we want to marry into. The end. Please like video and comment your thoughts about Evelyn's story.